Hi, everybody, and we are live. Thank you for joining me, friends and foes and everybody in between. I see the chat is nice and busy. I see some of the dislike. We've got some government agents in the chat or in the dislike. I don't take it to heart. I actually take it as a badge of honor. Let me just see now. Sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna assume my audio and my video is fine, and you can let me know to the contrary if it's not. So I want to talk about Leo's pandemic picnic. The way I want to talk about this is kind of a little bit specific. Give me a heads up there just to acknowledge that I'm live, just so I feel a little. Thank you, lads. But so the way I want to talk about it is not my own kind of direct analysis of this, because let's just say it's not quite my thing for now, and you'll see what I mean in a while. I don't want to analyze it personally. I kind of want to analyze the way the media reflected this scenario. I'll get to the obvious in a second if you haven't seen. I'll explain what I'm talking about, but I think most of you will know. Crucially as well, I want to acknowledge the role that some extremely adept Twitter users had in breaking this story internationally. As I've said in the description of this video, you'll see below, credit to Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg and Professor Chopper for their central role, among others, in breaking this story internationally. And you can follow them as well. Of course, there are many others. I'll name them as we go. What I've basically done here, this is kind of a preamble, is to say, a couple of hours ago, I was a bit off this weekend. I didn't keep up with the online stuff that was going on. So I contacted a few people to say, what's the story with this thing? I know he was in the park, Varadkar, Taoiseach of Ireland, Prime Minister of Ireland, some people might say. He was in the park having a picnic, allegedly, supposedly against public health advice, kind of Dominic Cummings, who I'll be honest with you, I don't exactly know what he did either. In a way, do you really need to know? You kind of get the gist. He did something against measures, etc. He drove somewhere, blah, blah, blah. Either he's a hypocrite, the elites get to break lockdown rules, or it's a pearl clutching, panic from the media and a witch hunt. I don't know, all the different narratives flying around, but we all get the gist. What I want to do is delve into how this story broke and the different perspectives that were given on it, and the role of the mainstream media, Irish media, we'll say. I call them the regime media, or corporate or state communications, PR. Depends what you want to call it, right? Their role in it, and the role of decentralized grassroots, lad with a phone, Twitter users, that type of thing, right? Some very esteemed people, of course. Like I say, Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg from Twitter will feature prominently on this. And you could say, maybe I'm dressing it up so much, and you could be right when you say this. Maybe I'm dressing it up so much because what I'm really doing is robbing all their content and going through it, basically going through about 40 of their tweets. I don't know, is it laziness? Is it a media Twitter review? Somewhere in between. Now, again, to justify this, two things. One thing, I've said this before many times, and I will get to the point, or I'll get to the video. One thing is, some people will criticize just going through Twitter, looking at videos and tweets and this and that, and articles via Twitter and all of this. Oh, that's just going through Twitter. And it's like, well, you could easily, I've said this before, I could easily take them, rip them down, put them in their own kind of file, the various pictures and media. But it's like, why bother? Why try to act that way? I got a lot of this from Twitter. It's a great medium. Everything's contained on it. The other question is, why would I watch this when I could just go on Twitter and find this myself? Well, that's the point. I was not sure on this, and asked a few people, can you give me the way the last few days have unfolded, how this story unfolded? And there was no way for someone to really sum it up for me. The online battle space, the info space, Battle Galactica, whatever you want to call it. There's no way for someone to just kind of explain it to you. It's like, well, you kind of had to be there and see it unfold. And so where this might be valuable to you is kind of like, instead of you having to trawl the internet for a few hours, it'll be contained here in like a nice hour-long, kind of audio-visual package. But again, credit to the lads, because again, they did some fantastic work along with others, or among others, in getting through all this. So basically, yeah, that's kind of why I'm doing it like this. That's my preamble, because as I'm going to do now, I'm just going to go through a lot of tweets, but I will talk around them. It's very fascinating, a very fascinating story. The story of Varadkar in the park, his pandemic picnic. But to me, more importantly, because I'm a media junkie in a way, and I like analyzing how it all works. More interestingly, to me, almost is how it all played out, the infrastructure of all of this. So I suppose without further ado, let's just jump into it, guys. So someone texted me earlier. I'll just give you a little read from this first, because I asked a friend, what can you give me an idea of this, because I don't know where to start. There's so much on it. So like, what happened? And he gave me a couple of steps, and I'll just read them out to you now. So step one, the footage came from a young lad called Jordan Collins. I remember seeing that. It was some average guy who just took a video, not a media savvy, Patriot Analytica aspiring journalist type. He was just a guy who found a video, or took a video. When he put it up on Twitter, people told him he was a liar, so he put the video up. He then deactivated after some libs, some kind of a liberal regime type people abused him for it. The footage, then step two, the footage gained momentum. Philip Ryan wrote an article on Leo living in Farmley, which is this nice house in a park, and said it was no big deal, and then put up a thread telling people it was no big deal. He then published a story clarifying that Leo was living there, basically dressing it up, trying to say nothing to see here. Then people said the rules were not broken, yet picnics are specifically forbidden, and there is a literal picnic basket there. We'll see all this in a second. The media rolled out identical stories saying Twitter is divided, and it's not as bad as Dominic Cummings, and he's only human, he's having a break. Then Guido Fawkes, which is this big international publication, picked up John McGurk's story on this thing happening. And everyone from New York Times and Russia Today covered it. Everyone, from media from Argentina to Russia to the New York Times, everything, right? Or did I say New York Times twice there? I'm not sure. Anyway, everybody picked it up. And then the death rate. Now, I was following the story loosely, just not at the expert level of some other people. Then the death rate dropped to 0 in Ireland. I remember that happening. That was some day in the last few days. The same day as the Leo story was breaking, they were like, 0 people died. It was like a distract story almost. It felt like. So the death rate drops to 0 as the pressure mounted, but it went back up to 13 and 17 the following days. So for one day, it went to 0 mysteriously. From the previous day, it might have been like 13 or something. I haven't been following it. And then so there was this mysterious dip to 0. Very strange. So that's in a way a very good explainer of the basics of what happened. And I suppose I should find you. Actually, you can see it in the thumbnail. I suppose you can't see the thumbnail there because you're watching. But he's God. Could I find a picture in the middle? The picture will come up. It's very stupid. I'm seeing a lot of people mentioning my haircut, because I have a haircut, as you can see. Well, my missus did that for me, so I just want to give special credit there. I think it's a very good job, I have to say. Second attempt, and I think it's very good. The first attempt was good too, but I'm never going to a barber again. Let's put it that way. So, am I sharing? Can you see? I've gone to share screen. Okay, so, this is, again, apologies. I am just going through tweets. I cannot give enough credit to all these lads, right? Wood Warbler. Do I color the beard? No, the beard is natural. So, sorry, I'm just getting distracted. Chopper says things that make you go. Last True Gale says it was 5 to 15 consistently, then dropped to 0 on that exact day. The death rate in Ireland, and then it climbed back up to 13 or whatever it was the following day. Now, again, let's not do conspiracy theory. We don't know. Maybe 0 people just happened to die that day, uniquely, in an unprecedented way since the pandemic kind of began. I don't know. You tell me. I'm also there's kind of kind of subplots here as well, which is like, why did he do that? Of course, the comms people, their PR people, aren't stupid, and nor is he stupid. Is this an intentional way to like mess with our heads, to like basically a middle finger, a kind of a something like that, that in some sense generates hype and gets his name, his brand, his name out there, and in some twisted kind of Edward Bernays marketing sense that's good for him? I don't know. Am I falling into the trap by talking about it? I don't know. But that question has to be asked of, like, you know, they don't just not think about things, do they? That's kind of strange. The other question is, someone could say, oh, this is stupid. This is such curtain twitching. The guy is just out in a park. This pandemic lockdown is ridiculous. La la la. Another person could say the opposite. I'm not getting into that. This isn't a litigation of these arguments and these various narrative points. I'm just discussing how it all unfolded, right? So, excellent here, starting. And as we will go on with about 40 more Hunkelberg tweets, 5 questions about Leo Varadkar's topless belly rubbing session in the Phoenix Park that the media are all too cowardly to ask. So this is an excellent summation. Why hasn't he apologized for clearly breaking the rules on no picnics? Why haven't journalists or opposition had the balls to put it up to him? And we will be seeing much more of this. Here's a great timeline of it. May 15th, in every single instance, it's vital that we maintain physical distance of 2 meters. May 18th, do your exercise and go home, no picnics. As you can see, it goes on. Here you can see the pictures of him out with his like boyfriends in the park, pretty close together. And then suddenly the next day, the HSC and the health authorities were saying there's no specific evidence or advice. Sorry, no specific advice around picnics, which there's evidence they actually have been mentioned in the past. And then suddenly, the 2 meter social distancing is not a rule; it's a guidance from Tony Holohan. Pretty funny. The 2 meters, it's just a guide. It's just a whatever. The 5 kilometers from home, even though the police are stopping you and asking, all of these questions, all just a guideline. Just, it's all about just, it's a little push. It's a little nudge to get us all to think along the same lines and generally act the right way. No, it wasn't like that when the police were stopping us, was it? And harassing people and prosecuting people. And that's interesting. That, just as Leo has his picnic with his boyfriends. So, next question. This is so good. This is so good. Such good work. Like, why have we not seen evidence that he is actually living in Farmley? So Farmley is this house in Phoenix Park, this park in the middle of Dublin, like a city park. And Farmley is this big, grand, lovely home, kind of in with a few acres around it, situated there. I don't know, is it presidential? It's a kind of state-owned. And the Taoiseach, Prime Minister, for those who aren't Irish, is allowed to live there sometimes or something like that. But he was at home April 9th, where he took this stupid Snapchat. This is for all the Hunzos and the normal people watchers and the Love Island watchers. And he's appealing to the young women. Oh, didn't get to deliver my Easter egg Snapchat, but he's at home April 9th. So, the question for the media is, why not just ask for evidence of this, right? You're the media, not his comms department. And if you think I'm jumping to say there is comms department, wait till you see all the way the media have reacted to this. So yeah, there's that. It's just a subplot here, I suppose. What the hell is the patch on his back? Now, this is a good point. You see the patch on his back. Someone could say, what the hell is the patch on his back, right? Now, you might say, someone here says Farmley is usually used to accommodate foreign heads of state and meetings, etc., government owned. So, okay, thank you for letting me know, because I did kind of brush over that. So we've learned. So, and the person who said that, martial law, thank you. So this is the point. You might go, okay, he's got a patch on his back, as you can see here. What's, whatever. Well, think of it in the context Hunkelberg here has outlined. This is a good point. Excuse me. Irish people struggle to care about anything in their country whatsoever. So let's imagine Donald Trump, think of it this way. Let's imagine Donald Trump after a topless session where Melania grabbed his belly. His boyfriend grabbed his belly. in Central Park, lies on his back, and there's a large unexplained patch. Now, not only would the American media be going wild over this, but the Irish media themselves would be like, getting pretty excited. Let's just put it that way. They would be questions, articles, headlines. What is this patch? What's it all about? Nothing. If it's Leo, leave Leo alone. Leo's just one of the girls, or sorry, one of the lads, one of the circle, whatever it is, right? So, So, next question. So, why did the Irish media play Leo Varadkar's behaviour down while playing up the Dominic Cummings story, which is happening in a completely different, unrelated country, i.e. England? And this is just so nauseating. Miriam Lord, I've never heard of her before, Irish Times opinions writer. Leo's Phoenix pecs, just a storm in a bag of cans. And I'll be honest, this bag of cans thing, it's a kind of a rubber banditsy media thing. It's a kind of a South Dublin-y hipster, as Cody, I think, said on Undord Fena, the Smithfield left. It's that kind of appeal, like a bag of cans, ha ha ha. It's so annoying. This is just a point of my own here. I'm editorializing here, right? The bag of cans thing is such a pain in the hole. It's such one of these meme. It's not even a meme because memes are good. It's a forced D4 Smithfield kind of meme of like bag of cans. Ha ha ha. That's endearing. That's like what we all do type of thing. And it's like, actually, most adults don't go around with a bag of cans. Maybe a bunch of shithead students do. I get it. Like, and we've all had a bag of cans somewhere, and it's a bit of crack and whatever. I'm not being a stick in the mud about it, but like most, it's such a stupid thing, and it's like it's the infantilization of adults. Actually, it's one of these things. It's like the Harry Potterization of people, where it's like, you're constantly like, you're constantly like 21 with a bag of cans. Even at 21, you shouldn't. And if you do, it's not funny. It's not a meme. It's stupid, and it's patronizing, and it's very Smithfield left. It really is of them. But yeah, but the point is, she's just playing it down. Oh, it's just a storm in a bag of cans, lads with their bags of cans. And then it's not the same author. Although that does happen in some other examples. Irish Times. When did Johnson become so dependent on Cummins? Was he always this weak? So hypercritical, razor sharp against foreign leaders, right? But the enemy leaders, the Brexit leaders, the Trumbly, whatever. But not a peep. It's just a storm in a bag of cans, lads, for in Ireland. So next question from the professor, the esteemed professor. How can a story be headline news? This is crucial. How can a story be headline news in New York, Moscow, Sydney, Buenos Aires, London, but not at RTE, the station where the brother of Simon Coveney has influence? And just as we'll see much more of this, right? RT, Russia Today, The Telegraph, and the New York Post. Irish PM accused of breaking social distancing measures after shirtless pic. Now, you could call out a kind of hypocrisy there if you said, yeah, but no, maybe in Russia, RT, it's different, right? But definitely in the case of Telegraph and the New York Post, you could say, well, maybe they're commenting on Ireland's Taoiseach in the way our media comment on Trump, and they both comment on each other's leaders, which is the nature of all of these nations' medias, their corporate medias. But it's like, no, that's not true, because the New York Post would be dragging Trump over the coals constantly, as would the Telegraph in England with Boris. I know they're kind of Tories and all that, but they would still go. Look up Telegraph Dominic Cummings. I'm sure you'll find plenty, right? But so it is uniquely Irish, right? Uniquely Irish. This thing. So those were the 5 questions. Yeah. This is like Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg's 5 questions, like nail it to the door of RTE type of thing. This is historic. The professor's 5 questions. So I'm going to move on. And again, I'll have to say it a million times. I'm robbing people on Twitter, mainly the professor here. So again, Twitter linked below. Go follow. Don't subscribe to me. Don't like the video. Don't whatever. Just follow Hunk. Just more here. I'm going to fly through these because I could be here forever. Croatia has become the latest country to express shock at Varadkar. So yeah, Croatian media. And Maria Lisha, I think it's Lisha. For those who say Varadkar wasn't picnicking, so some of the media were saying he's not picnicking, he's like exercising or he's hanging out with his friends, which is allowed. You're allowed to talk to people. There's literally a picnic basket, which someone said earlier. Actually, I saw someone say that it's just so embarrassing to what bunch of men actually uses a picnic basket. You know what I mean? The average Irish person, if you're going for a picnic, it's a Tesco bag. It's a tinfoil sandwiches and a bottle of My Waddy or something, right? And it's just a shopping bag, right? Who actually gets a picnic basket? That's so Pinterest, it's a Pinterest thing to do, and Pinterest is for Bjors. Pinterest is for women. Like, what bunch of three lads goes out with an actual literal picnic basket to do nothing against picnics? Picnics are great, but who brings an actual picnic basket? Like I don't know, like some fairy tale girl or something. It's embarrassing. Anyway, that's just an aesthetic critique on my behalf. But just the main point is that they were using a picnic basket, right? It's flagrant denial. Here's something interesting. This comes from Ben Benderson lives, right? Okay, I don't know this one, but anyway, it's a good point. Nobody has asked about where his hold all, and bear in mind, you could say this is all just the whole thing of curtain twitching and who cares, and don't be like this or whatever. My point is that look at Trump, look at Boris Johnson, whoever, right? I'm sure it'd be the same in India with the Indian media if Modi, they would analyze all this stuff and whatever. It's like, why do you care? It's in a way, it's like, I care because you seem to not care, and that's uncharacteristic or out of step with international kind of norms, you could say. It's very odd, and the way you would pick apart. I've been picked apart in the Irish Times, right? Can you not do it for the Taoiseach? He's the man in power, right? So his hold all, his bag, the bag he has with him. Andrew Christian, I think it is. So here's the website. So I apologize if there are any children watching. You like to keep this kind of respectable. But this is national news, so I had to show you. That's where he gets his bag from. I mean, bag of cans. This this is where his head is at. This kind of stuff, and this is who we have steering the ship. It's not cool. So yeah, a spokesperson for Leo Varadkar said that he had been living at Farmley for weeks, when only 2 weeks ago he was living at home, reportedly. So I don't know. It's I see the chat reacting to the picture. Sorry about that, but yeah. So as Hunkelberg makes out that or maintains that the spokesperson told a barefaced lie. I suppose they did. Yeah. So we have more. RT are reporting Russia Today, and again, it's the same Irish media who would criticize the likes of RT as being state media, tin pot dictatorship, banana republic. Oh Jesus, they don't criticize the leadership at all. That's like some tin pot, second, third world country. It's like, what's his name? I've forgotten his name. Putin on a horse, bare chested and all of this, right? That's the irony here, is that they are precisely the same, just with a kind of a rainbow tint all over it. But it's the very same thing. It's just not as obvious. Colette Brown here. This is from. You can see the account there is. I'll link it afterwards. It's Biofirina anyway. Alleged journalist Colette Brown's curtain twitchers. So she put up a tweet saying Leo Varadkar was abiding by all the rules in the Phoenix Park. Like everyone who works, he deserves a break. Can curtain twitching Twitter also take some time off? And they've listed out all of the media that reported on it. They're all curtain twitchers. But anyway, we continue. Back to Professor Hunkelberg. Subscribe, follow on Twitter. And actually, I say that, follow Professor Jeremiah Honkelberg on Twitter as a kind of a favor to him because I'm robbing all of his work and all of that, right? But I'm actually not. In this, that's usually what I'd be doing. In this case, I'm doing it as a favor to you because it's free and it's better than an Irish Times, RTE, New York Times, everything subscription rolled into one. Amazing stuff. So that's not just a simp for him or something like that. It's for you, actually. Go follow. So we have, is this Austria? I don't really know where this is. But anyway, Ireland Prime Minister caught breaking isolation in public park. Again, it's foreign news, right? Spiked, a tale of two rule breakers. Spiked, I'm an alumni of Spiked. I wrote for Spiked, you know. I'm sure they'd love to have that widely publicized. I don't know, would they disown me now? But in all seriousness, they don't have to take ownership for me at all, right? That's fine. They can delete it if they want to. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It was called Brexit, a reminder of Ireland's shame. But Spiked. So here's Spiked, a tale of two rule breakers, outlining the hypocrisy here. So even basically countries all over the world are outlining this and making this point for us. And yet the silence within our own media. Now, I think they picked up on it in the last kind of 24 hours, late to the game. It's, you know, what's the phrase I'm looking for? Too little, too late. It's like, yeah, it doesn't count when you do it like that, right? You're meant to be the first, not the last, to the party here. Now, we have an exception. Village magazine, who I have a checkered history with. They have both been nice to me and, not nice to me. But more importantly than that, more importantly than narcissism on my behalf, that's okay. They have some integrity. I don't think they're amazing. I'm not recommending them highly or anything like that, but they are, as far as I can tell, somewhat independent, somewhat, maybe you'll correct me, who knows, right? But it seems to me like they're somewhat independent. They're many tiers above the Irish Times and the RTE. By the way, just a point about the RTE and the Irish Times, some of these people who will come up, these people are pond life. They are, think about the man who, we all pity a homeless person or a drug addict, but think about the one who goes out of their way to try and rob you, and they're groveling and at your door and they try to steal from you. And, the most, not just someone who's down on their luck, but someone who really tries to harm you and is like I don't know, I'm choosing my words badly here, but, think of someone who's at the lowest of the low, who is like almost beneath your sympathy in a way, That's what these people are. These people are, people talk about junkies, junkies on the street. I see some of these journalists and I see them not as elites. Sometimes we use that word loosely. These people are like junkies. To me, on the pecking order, they're underneath junkies. Junkies have had a hard time and they're just a bit frail and not able and stuff like that, right? These people are lower. These people are groveling, grasping scum. Prostitutes, in a kind of a literal sense. So they're lower than prostitutes. They're, prostitutes may have some kind of, at least, integrity in what they do it openly, and they just say, I do what I do. There's maybe most prostitutes, putting OnlyFans aside, most classic prostitutes will just be open about, I am what I am. I sell myself for money. They'll say that to you, right? So in a way, these journalists are lower than prostitutes. They're lower than junkies. They are the lowest of the low. They are scumbags. So when people talk about scangers and scumbags, look at that scanger, look at that scumbag. I see these journalists and I go, oh, look at that scumbag, look at that scanger, look at that. Like, I wouldn't, like, if they were on the street walking by me, I'd kind of cross the street and I'd be like holding my nose and I'd be like, a little bit nauseated and kind of just like, get away from me, keep away from I'd be kind of grabbing my pockets and staying away. They are a kind of a kind of a filthy creature. So anyway, whereas Village are a little bit above all that, right? And they got into it, I think, quite late, but that's okay. Unscrutinized lockdown breaches, resignation territory for Varadkar and Martin. They go through it. I'm not going to plagiarize their piece, right? It's linked in the description, and they kind of pick through it with a fine-tooth comb, the logic of like, was or wasn't it breaking the lockdown? Was it just a guy taking a break in the park, breaking no rule, or being not being hypocritical, or was he doing those things? instead of just making broad claims, they kind of specifically, let's break it down or whatever. So they do that. So credit to them in that sense, right? We have Connor Fitzgerald here, Fitz from Dublin, follow on Twitter. This is very good. Let's recap. Right-wing Irish Twitter gives Irish media a story. Irish media disregards because it's busy reporting on Dominic Cummings in England. International media picks it up. RT, New York Post, Argentina Times, whatever they're called, right? Dozens of different publications all over the world all pick it up. That confirms that it's a real story. The same story that was given to them by Twitter. Hey guys, report on this. And then the Irish media are forced to report because now people who matter know about it and they have to do it. It was the very same drink, because I'm mentioning the asylum industry, right? But with Listu and Varna originally, I noticed that I tried to give that story to the Irish media. I'm like going videos. I have documented evidence. I remember emailing Prime Time, everybody with like strenuously worked out, like verified, backed up things to go, I'm handing you a story here. Nothing. Michael Walsh, Breitbart reporter who has ties to Listu and Varna, reported it with Breitbart. It went around the place. 2 days later, Irish Times are reporting on it because they kind of have to now, right? So if you ever want something reported, that's kind of that's the only way to get scumbag Irish media to actually report on the news in Ireland, is to force the New York Post to report about it. And then a day later, the Irish Times will report on it. When in reality, you have given it to them first day to say, if you had any decency, it should be the Irish Times breaks the Irish story first, specifically when it's handed to them on a plate. They should be, people like Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg and Connor Fitzgerald should be charging them a commission on these things, but they don't even report on it. Actually, I didn't even notice this one. There's a follow-up, lessons. So Connor Fitzgerald has some excellent articles and everything as well. I've read, I think maybe a WordPress or a blog or a web page. You can find it through his Twitter. So anyway, lessons. Right-wing Irish Twitter is tiny but powerful and lives rent-free in Irish Twitter's head. True. Irish Twitter is wrong yet again and takes another in a series of brutal, never-ending L's. Good boyism is real. If it's not in the New York Times, it didn't happen. No lies detected. Now, Paddy Cosgrave, who has been excellent on all of this, everything to do with this pandemic, he's been good, and he has been burnt at the stake, hung on the cross repeatedly, taken it like a man and kept going. Again, if there were awards being handed out in a just world, they would be going to people like Paddy Cosgrave, Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg, Connor Fitzgerald, and others, right? But it's the other way around. You have the Irish Times handing the person on RTE an award, and the person from TV3 or whatever, RTE2, the person like Miriam O'Callaghan from Primetime going on as a guest to the Late Late Show. It's incestuous, and they hand each other awards, the Irish Media Awards, right? It's the Irish Independent and the Irish Times journalists win best feature and best editor and best this and best that, right? It's a complete, I don't want to say wank, but it's a big load of wank, right? Paddy Cosgrave, an individual, I don't think he claims to be a journalist or a media person or any of that, but for what he's done throughout this crisis in exposing some truth and getting persecuted for it, which is, it doesn't mean that if being persecuted doesn't mean you're right or doesn't mean you're noble automatically, but it's a good sign. So Paddy says here, I can't believe the world's media are making a big deal of Leo Varadkar's picnic. So he's pointing out how the whole world are reporting on it and the Irish media aren't. Ireland has the highest level of gross income inequality in the OECD. Again, with Irish media, you'd be none the wiser. I like to think of myself as an informed guy. I didn't even know this. That's how in the dark we are. So carry on. So rules don't apply to the elites. We've the lowest level of trust in media in the Western world, so scrutiny of the elites doesn't apply also. I've bunched Paddy Cosgrave's tweets together here. This is very important, very important. And again, Paddy doesn't have to disavow me, or people can't say, oh, they're like friends or something. Nope, I'm observing this guy here and just pointing out what's objectively true, as he does himself. 2 months ago, I was lambasted for suggesting healthcare workers were crying out for help in nursing homes, but were being ignored or silenced. That PPE and testing was a big problem. Those who tried to silence me and others who spoke up, for those without a voice, hang your head in shame. Now, I could spend a whole video talking about this, the way that happened. And you know what's strange about this? He's talking about 2 months ago here. This isn't some piece of history looking way back. I remember this like it was yesterday. It feels like it was last week. It's like this isn't something. It's so recent. It's like a psychological warfare or something where it's like the news changes so fast and they just kind of flip. They're like, they will castigate you for saying something one day, and then the next day they'll kind of admit it and go, oh, they'll like tell you as if it's news. And it's like, you're the person who was trying to burn me at the stake a month ago for saying this, and now there's no mea culpa, there's no nothing, just move on. What's that about? I remember he was saying nursing homes, they don't have PPE, ABC on this whole nursing home thing, and Ireland now has the one, maybe number 2 death rate in nursing homes in the world. And we had a big lockdown and all of that, but we didn't target it well enough, clearly, evidently, in nursing homes. And we would have done much better focusing on nursing homes and maybe going a bit more lax on everybody else. Who knows, right? He was talking about this and he got burnt at the stake by, again, if you're new to the channel, right, and you don't trust me, if you really want to, first off, you could just go take the initiative yourself and look through Twitter, go back through the annals and find it. And if you really need to, I can put together a video, right? Just like this, going through all of it, right? And all of that. Take my word for it. They lambasted him. So many of them were calling him, might as well have been calling him a Nazi or something for talking about it. Like almost like a traitor, a troublemaker, he should be ashamed and for not putting on, as they say, putting on the green jersey and sticking up and uniting with the government as they're making an effort. Can you not just appreciate everyone's making an effort and rowing in together? Why are you being difficult? Why you're so horrible and you're insulting our healthcare workers, trying to spin it back on him? All of this insane. And here we are. We have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, thousands, but I don't know how many people in nursing homes. Could be probably, I don't know, approaching the 1,000 or more mark, right? What is, like, I don't want to say something so crass as a mini genocide, but as in a massacre of our own elderly. And it could have been done better. Countries like, I think Paddy mentions it here, or someone else did anyway. Yes. The politicians are now saying, oh, mistakes were made. Some mistakes were made. We'll have to do better. They're kind of doing this stuff. And as Paddy outlines here, nursing home deaths in Hong Kong, 0. Nursing home deaths in Singapore, 0. Nursing home deaths in South Korea, 0. Nursing home deaths, I was wondering a while ago, 800 plus in Ireland. Probably more by now. This is a few days old. So it's not a minor thing. It's 800 dead people, right? Unless you claim that there's something magic in the air in Hong Kong. Obviously, we have 800 people dead because there were mistakes made. And it'd be one thing if they said, how were we to know? Nobody said it. But no, only 2 months ago, they were the ones who were breathlessly castigating. And I'm talking breathlessly, like the likes of Neil Richmond. I don't know if he did himself, but the likes of him, politicians, media alike, all converged on Paddy Cosgrave as a hate figure, as a person to say, he is terrible, all of this. And what was he saying? He was saying precisely the things that you would need to be listening to in order to avoid these 800 people dead. 800 people dead, and he was the bad guy. And, in the eyes of these people, probably still is. Like I say, these people are pond life. These people are effectively, complicit in murder. And call me exaggerating there, but am I really? 800 of our elderly dead, buried, many of them without their families allowed to attend the burial. Am I exaggerating in taking that seriously? I don't think so. So, and to lighten the mood up a bit, just one of these memes, This meme kind of confused me. Actually, no offense to Paddy Cosgrave, but in terms of memes, I think you can make a clearer meme than this but that's okay, right? Heroic in other regards. This Michael Brendan Doherty, I think that's Doherty's with a National Review, who, I'm not a huge fan of them, but that feeling when normal funerals are currently disallowed in the country you govern. Normal funerals are not allowed in Ireland, unless the rules have changed in the last day or something I'm not familiar with. Normal funerals are disallowed, and here he is in the park like a muppet. And here's the thing, that's why I'm like, I'm not even pushed on, I mean, technically, is it against the rules or not? I think it is, but even if it's not, I'm like, there's a pandemic going on. There is a lockdown in place, right? Whether it's stage 1 or 2, I don't put that aside, right? There's a lockdown going on. You're the leader, a statesman, a leader of a country, and you're walking around with your like flubby belly hanging out and like your jocks hanging out in the park, again, with the Smithfield left. Those people are all down by that statue thing in Phoenix Park. That's their spot. It's the beauty blogger kind of like start up coffee shop, guy with the weird haircut and the girl with the thing in her nose and the skinny guy with like these people. They look like, do you know what they look like? Tiger King. The lads, some of those lads make themselves look like disgusting and weird. They look like Tiger King. It's like an ironic, ugly mullet and just these people. But then it's also the kind of normal people there. So that's what he's trying to do, I think, to my mind, appeal to his crowd and be like, I'm out here in my jocks, having a bag of cans with the lads. I don't know, was it intentional? Was it a mess up on his behalf? But it's disgraceful. I mentioned Modi a while ago. Modi, the leader, the statesman of India, Hindu national leader, right? Now, he is a beloved national figure domestically and around the world, right? He's seen as one of these guys, larger than life. He wears, I don't know what it's called, right? No disrespect. He wears one of these Hindu, this kind of garb, and he seems to levitate around the place, and he commands a kind of sense of regality and power and respect. Can you imagine him standing around a park with his flubby belly out, his jocks hanging off him, with his 3 boyfriends, presumably drinking like a cocktail or something in the park? Like, it's so embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing for any, to be honest, not to sound like a stick in the mud, like in theory it's okay, but like in a way for any kind of 40-odd-year-old man, maybe it's a bit like, I don't know, unbecoming. Like, are you really supposed to be out like a 18-year-old in your shorts, like a muppet, but not to mind a Taoiseach, a prime minister, the statesman, head of state? Insane. But and that's ignoring, to come back to this tweet, that's ignoring a situation where people aren't allowed to attend funerals of their loved ones under your rules, or best advice. More from Doherty here. Hard-hitting journalism in Ireland. He's criticising the reporting. So we have explainer. Did the Taoiseach ignore public health rules by going on a picnic? People were urged. Basically, they're excusing it away. Oh, actually, it's just use your head. It's common sense. Was the Taoiseach disobeying the public health guidance on social distance? His spokesman said Varadkar was fully complying with the guidelines on coronavirus. Again, Kim Jong-un or Il or whatever his name is would be, jealous of these headlines. We have John McGurk, in fairness to him. 2 days in May. On the left, the 22nd of May. On the right, the 24th. 5-year-olds. You'll say 5-year-olds sharing food is a threat to our civilization so great as to render a DJ who talks for a living speechless. Politicians sharing food is a matter of such pettiness as to be beyond imagination. I'll just show you. Show rather than tell, right? Jared Dixon. This guy is the biggest regime bootlicker I have seen ever. He came at me like when the Keelings thing was happening, saying like, "What are you talking about? They can't get Irish workers to pick strawberries." And then when I said, "Well, why don't they pay them more?" And he kind of went quiet. And then I said, "Why don't you come on and stream with me on here, debate? We'll have a chat respectfully about this subject." And he was like, "I've better things to be doing," right? So he always pops his little weasel head up in situations like this. But check this out for just like, pulling the curtain back on a guy like this. Excellently noticed by John McGurk. So this is a few weeks ago. What is it? No, it's 2 days. It's separated by 2 days. The first example on the 22nd of May. 5-year-olds in my estate are playing together and sharing food and water bottles. And he says, it's very rare that I'm speechless, but this takes the biscuit. Remember this when we get the second wave. He's saying, oh no, this is so terrible, right? There's some kind of flouting of lockdown rules going on, and this is going to create another spike of very irresponsible. And then 2 days later, are people really getting upset because Leo Varadkar may or may not have been enjoying a bit of sunshine in Phoenix Park today, literally a stone's throw from where he lives and with the person he lives with? What rule is being broken? Imagine being this petty. I can't deal, can't cope. It's insane, the comparison. Like again, I bring you back to junkies and prostitutes. At least a junkie, if you say, come here, what's up with you? He goes, I don't know, I'm on the gear. I'm just doing I'll do what I have to do to get gear. I'll rob someone. I'll do whatever. I just want gear because I'm an addict. A prostitute will say, I sell my body for money. And it's what I do. These guys won't say that. And they do something, I think, more despicable. So they are, like I say, scobes. I can't use the K word. It's a rude word anyway. I don't mean to offend anyone like that, but it's a word people do use. These kind of derogatory words. It's like, no. Know who the real scumbags are. It's these people. These are the ones you want to cross the street to avoid. Back to Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg here. Makes a great point regarding Cahersiveen. Instead of Cahersiveen, why weren't the migrants placed at Farmley? Leo's living in Farmley, right? At a steel. Nice big house. I've often said it. I've said it before. I'm actually going to claim credit for this one. I'm going to back off Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg. Great tweet. But I'm just pointing out that it's crossed my mind before. When they put these centres in Cahersiveen and Lisdoonvarna and all of this, I go, wait, Phoenix Park is a nice big old place, right? It's got Farmley. It's got other buildings on it. You could put up temporary buildings, whatever, right? Why not put them there? You know what the answer among the D4 elite and the Smithfield left, and they'd be kind of right to say it, but it's just hypocritical. They would say, I know that's I understand the imperative to house asylum seekers, but this is a special to us as a city, as a nation. This place is not for that, right? It's a preserved place, and it's important as a resource and a kind of an outlet for people. So it's not for that. So we can't do it there, nor can we do it in Dalkey, nor can we do it in Killiney. Sorry about it. But yet they can put it in Cahersiveen. Cahersiveen isn't afforded the same luxury of this place is important to us. The trust and reciprocity and familiarity we have within our community matters a lot to us. Not being, and this credit goes to Hunkelberg for this as well, not being ethnically cleansed in our own community, which having 300 people injected into your community, which was the original plan for Cahersiveen, constitutes ethnic cleansing. Why does the Phoenix Park rule? It's a special place. It's not for that. Let's preserve it. It doesn't apply to Cahersiveen. They're just a bunch of country people with no friends in the media. We can do it to them, right? Well, they have friends. They have friends in the likes of their friends on Twitter, but that does matter. Yeah, like you said, disease and immigration for Kerry people, plush, spare, empty residences for the Dublin elite. It doesn't make sense, but alas, it does, right? This is another interesting one again, Professor. Look at this. It's like they all thought up the same headline at once. Topless Taoiseach. Here's the bit. Twitter divided as pictures of Leo emerge. That's from Extra Dublin Live. Excuse me. Video of Leo Varadkar enjoying the sun. Twitter users divided. The Irish Daily Mirror. Twitter users divided, etc. I feel like that's one of these kind of storyful things happening, we realize the media is all one big centralized corporate entity, one big corporate blob. This is just, it's kind of unrelated to Leo in the park, but why not? 5,000 people crammed into facilities in Killarney back in March for a great citizenship. Oh yeah, it's relating to this. In England, they're saying that leading coronavirus expert says Cheltenham Festival and Liverpool clash caused increased suffering and death. But then in Ireland, so the British media will reflect, they will self-critique, right, on their own nation. But here, Would anyone in the Irish media dare say a couple of weeks ago or a month ago during the pandemic, or at the very beginning of it, when we should have been locking down earlier, 5,000 people crammed into facilities in Killarney back in March for a great citizenship giveaway ceremony, right? This kind of paper Irish thing. But that had no effect. No, because that was diversity related, so that's holy. We can't talk about that. When in reality, a thing like this has a knock-on effect, right? Obviously, and could, be a contributing factor to our 800 dead elders. Robert Burke, again, follow on Twitter. Leo Varadkar's picnic in the park against his own government guidelines has been picked up by publications across the world, now reported in BBC, New York Times. Not good enough to make the 6-1 news yesterday, though. Only mention on RTE's website. Defends him, which says, Varadkar followed guidelines in park, says spokesperson. Again, North Korea news, media. Again, Kim Jong or Putin, right, would be jealous, would be green with envy for these headlines. And here's the key thing, is that while these foreign outlets were reporting this news, right, picked up from Irish kind of dissident right nationalist Twitter, while they were reporting it, all of these American media and Argentinian, whatever, people were tracking the RTE news, watching the 6-1, waiting to see, okay, are they going to mention it? Nothing. Okay, it's surely going to happen on the 9 o'clock news. Let's wait for it, right? Nothing. While it was being reported worldwide. Interesting, no? This is just a funny meme. Now, here's how you meme. So no offense to Paddy Cosgrave, but this one, now it's actually quite jarring and shocking a meme. In a way, it doesn't lend itself to laughter. It's kind of darkly funny. Here's a picture of a funeral being conducted in Ireland. No family present. We see probably an undertaker, a priest, and an undertaker's, assistant. No family allowed. And the lads, the Leo and his boyfriends here, hanging out, pinching each other's little bellies, drinking cocktails with his bag from his website, right? And all, the disrespect. Again, I think it is, as far as I'm informed, actually flouting lockdown rules. But even if you could technically argue that it didn't, which I think it did, it's not really about that. It's a sign of respect. It's a matter of respect. It's like, and people have pointed out, there's acres of space in Farmley. He could have gotten plenty sun, plenty space, had a drink, relaxed, right? No one's criticized. People can relax. He has loads of space. A lot of people live in apartments. They don't have the space. He has the space, but he clearly intentionally went down to this place, topless, drinking with his boyfriends in the park. What is he trying to say there, And by the way, personally, I've been to parks and stuff, right? I went to a park, just to tell you a little anecdote. This is a couple of weeks ago. I was skipping, right? Bit of fitness. I think I've said this before, but I was skipping and breaking a sweat, and a guard walks by me, and I gesture at the guard to be like, are you going to say something to me or not, or whatever? He's clearly approaching me. And then he said, just keep going, yeah? Because, of course, you have to be exercising to be out. You can't just be out for no reason, just sitting around. And yet, I'm getting told that, and he's out here with his buddies. And I'm not the one who's Taoiseach of the country either. That's a little detail as well. Bear in mind, 800 dead, yeah, elders. Another 800 who aren't. This is funny as well, by the way. So this is from Chopper here, at Prof Chopper on Twitter. Social distance 2 meters. You've seen this everywhere if you're in Ireland. I'm sure elsewhere as well, right? Social distance 2 meters, measuring it out for you. Lines in supermarkets, measuring 2 meters precisely. And this is 2 meters, citizen. 2 meters, again, it's this length. And then the this is after Leo appears in the park with his belly hanging off him, right? The chief medical officer says that 2 meter social distancing rule is guidance and not a hard and fast law. Okay. And that people need to interpret how it works for them. The government says it has no plans to reduce the rule despite growing pressure from businesses. Again, it's just a guide. You know what I mean? Use your common sense. It's not a thing, really. Are you sure? What? It's not what I was told before Leo was drinking cocktails with his boyfriend in the park. I don't know. Maybe things change when that happens. I'm not sure how it all works, right? It's a bit confusing. I'm doing the Columbo thing where I'm a bit confused. I don't quite get it. So, and this is brilliant. Again, from Connor Fitzgerald, right? This Aoife Walsh, she is some regime hack of some description, right? She is a journalist at the Irish Independent. Sure, of course she is, right? And she made this tweet. I'm so funny. Oh my God, mocking all these people online. People on social media after seeing pictures of Leo Varadkar with his mates, hanging out in Phoenix Park. She's like, oh, they're measuring, trying to measure it, like, ha ha ha. And then, as Connor Fitzgerald points out here, perfect. So she makes that tweet, but in a different tweet, a few hours before or a day before, not very long before, she's saying, the message coming from Downing Street says Cummings acted responsibly, legally, and with integrity in breaking restrictions introduced to halt the spread of the same virus. He then goes on to say has caused the death of 36,000 people. Oh my God, look at that. So it's all criticism about Cummings in a foreign country in England, but it's ridicule for the people who have the same, normal people, not journalists, normal people, who have the very same criticism of our own Taoiseach. And you know what? You could say, how does this madam here, how does this Aoife Walsh not see this? Would she not catch herself on this? No, she didn't catch herself on this because the bias is so extreme. They make these slip-ups and they show their hand so obviously they don't even get it. They're not smart enough in a way to get it, but they're also just so wrapped up in it that they're so regime dependent and such bootlickers and such prostitutes, like I say, lower than prostitutes, lower than junkies, right? Who are people who you can, in your own strange way, respect or at least pity. These people are beneath both of those characteristics. So yeah, that's Aoife Walsh. Connor Fitzgerald here is in the chat and says that was literally the previous tweet on her timeline. My God, I thought he edited those together to make the point. No, literally those tweets were as they appear. Incredible. Aoife Walsh, Irish Independent. What a disgrace, right? What an absolute hames of a so-called journalist. Alternative U Ireland says, state-approved two-faced journalists in Ireland have spent the day ranting and raving, same point here, ranting and raving about Dominic Cummings for having the audacity to breach his own lockdown rules in England while turning a blind eye to Varadkar for doing the same thing here in Ireland. So here we can see Colette Brown, right? Colette Brown, oh, esteemed journalist, right? I think she's the Independent as well. Breaking the lockdown make Cummings' life easier. I'm not even reading it. It's just a general... She's like, why didn't his wife drive? Why did he decide to test it? So she's getting into the details, which I'm even too bored to get into. It's like, that's a level I definitely don't want to get into. Maybe in your own country, for your own leader, Taoiseach, politicians. Even then I might actually go, I don't want to go that far on for Edgar, but she's willing to go that far. She's willing to go full on, right? For a foreign politician. And then Leo Varadkar was abiding by all the rules in the Phoenix Park. Like everyone who works, he deserves a break. Can curtain twitching Twitter also take some time off? Leave Leo alone, right? And the same person, and there will be an ordinary person. If she was an ordinary person, someone with a bit of dignity, she'd come out and she'd go, you kind of got me there. I might want to, do you know what? I need to look in the mirror just a little bit. I need to look in the mirror a bit. Do you know what? That was probably a bit embarrassing. You know what? I'm going to redouble my efforts and I'm going to become more focused on Ireland's politics, Ireland's elite, and focus on them, because that's a good point. I would say, hey, fair play to you. Do you know what I mean? You got called out. You got called out on something that's objectively the case, and you recognized it, mea culpa, and said, cool, make amends, start again, that type of thing, right? None. It'll just be forgotten about. And she'll do the same thing in a week with something else. And these people operate with complete impunity. This is our media, paid for by, it's a corporate thing. It's a kind of a state thing. It's funded by advertisers, effectively. Zero accountability. I've heard it said that, people talk about how bad it is to have a state-run media, but it's also bad to have a corporate media ran state, because these people dictate how the country will operate and what the narrative will be and what people will hear. And this is who you're talking about. This is the grade of people you're talking about, right? Professor Jeremiah Honkelberg says, this is how conditioning works. They report on Donald Trump playing golf while ignoring topless Varadkar frolicking while drinking with his mates in the park. Exactly. Frolicking is the only word for it. The message is clear. The USA should have a serious leader, but Ireland should not. And as you can see here, so it was RTE News. Trump under fire for shaking hands, failing to observe social distancing during a round of golf, right? Reporting that with ease, probably because Storyful gave it to them or something like that. But for Radker, then it's like, whatevs, ignore. Here we have on Cousin. I'm not great at Gaeilge, Ireland. You can see the handle there, so you can follow this account. Despite having acres of land around Farmley itself to entertain his friends, very good. Varadkar travelled to drink his cans at the Wellington Monument in full view of the public, knowing he knew would be there. It's the actions of a man who knows no matter what he does, he's invincible. Well, here's the thing. How can you not be invincible with the likes of these... I'm going to lose where I am now. How can you not be invincible with the likes of Colette Brown doing your media and your PR and your communications for you, and Aoife Walsh? Yeah, you're immune. Yeah, you're how was it described here? You're invincible. When you have that, that's why our job is so important. And the likes, fair play to him, right? Paddy Cosgrave and some others, even the Village to an extent. There are a few. Again, everybody who fights back against this regime and these regime comms people, this media, should pat themselves on the back and pat each other in the back, because the role is so important. The state we're in with this media and the information space is so lackluster is too weak a word. It's so toxic and so misleading that it's incumbent on everybody to do this work, it's not fill in the gaps, to bulldoze the Irish media at every turn with this stuff, because they are there not just to not inform you, because that's bad in itself, but to misinform you, to redirect you. It's poisonous and it needs to be tackled head on. We're getting towards the end here, lads. I appreciate you all sticking with me. I'll just have a sip of tea. So here's Varadkar in the park. I just thought this image sums it up. Look at the state, like the title or the thumbnail said, the absolute state of this. The four lads, they're clearly all standing close together. Again, I'm not, wetting the bed about that. That's not the point here. It's the hypocrisy is what I'm getting at here, right? Like I say, I'm getting harassed in the park by guards and all this kind of stuff, right? Which is, that's funny. There's a guard. Look at it. I didn't even see that. I'm pointing at the screen. You can't see me pointing. I'll use my icon. There's a guard there. My God. I'd like if the guard said, hey, keep jogging, lads. Keep jogging. Down and do push-ups for me. I mean, I'd love it. And of course, the guard knows what's up. The guard's probably there to protect him. But more from Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg here. There are countless anonymous accounts only set up today that are defending Leo Varadkar's degrading topless antics in Phoenix Park. There was actually a meme I saw. This is so funny. This is very, very funny. You can't really see it. If I zoom in, I'll only mess up the presentation here. Nope, that's only making it smaller. Yeah, there's no winning. Anyway, you can't really see that fully, right? Sorry, but it's Valerie. I can't even see it. It's Valerie 884-76574 on Twitter, and she's saying, this robot droid is saying, "Thanks, Leo." I can't even read it here. Jesus Christ. You're doing a fantastic job. # you'll never beat the Irish. Yeah, so that's pure what it is. And I'm telling you, if you search Twitter and you look around, you'll see exactly this. It's these bots with these weird names, account established yesterday, being like, never mind the haters, Leo, you were taking a well-earned break. You'll never beat the Irish. It's great meme, accurate meme. From Professor Hunkelberg again. Dominic Cummings has been put in his place by British media. Irish Examiner chose the day the shocking story broke about Leo's topless antics in the Phoenix Park broke to reprint an old PR stunt. Sorry, I might have misread that. But yeah, so they retreaded this on 2 days ago. They're like, department reveals praise for Taoiseach after he re-registered as a doctor, right? His PR stunt. They're just, nicely. I mean, I'd love if I was Taoiseach and I could just say, yeah, I'm rolling up my sleeves and I'm doing that, and everybody would just do the whole, instead of investigating it. And their job isn't to kiss his arse, and I mean, it is actually. That's the thing you need to know. That's what they really are there for. But look at that. So the same day they're rehashing this old piece of like propaganda. The same day the Phoenix Park thing breaks, instead of doing that, and in England, this is happening. This is what Dominic Cummings is getting, right? And the Irish, it's probably Irish media, Irish like London or British correspondents among this crowd, right? While they're telling us how Leo signed up, rolled up his sleeves, got dusted off his stethoscope. Oh my God, what a legend! Not Varadkar, sorry, the National Party here with a good one. This is what 2 meters apart looks like. And it's a good point, because from a distance, that's what 2 meters apart kind of looks like. So for the people who are saying, actually, you don't know, I don't know, I've lost it here, but you don't know, you can't tell for sure, even though, they were not 2 meters away from each other. They're hanging out, they're close together. They're literally pinching and tickling each other, right? So anyway, again, Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg, please follow on Twitter for your own benefit, not his or mine. 1,600 people are dead, and the regime-approved media will create entire threads to defend the Taoiseach lounging about Phoenix Park, semi-naked, drinking alcohol during a time of crisis. This country is a joke. Now check it out. Philip Ryan goes on this breathless thread, dutifully. Some background. Here's the Taoiseach. A check of Google Maps shows that he was this distance away, and blah blah blah. He was in Farmley, and but the main point is that, unlike social media, so he's trying to get one back from the social media who actually broke this story, the likes of Hunkelberg and Chopper and all of these people. He's trying to say, but the main point is that, unlike social media, the so-called mainstream media will put work into verifying allegations, videos, images circulating on platforms like Twitter before we publish them. So in a way, that's the cope. It's like, even though New York Times somehow could do it, and Argentina Times and RT and all of the rest, what it almost seems to me like he's implicitly saying, in a way, this is my reading of it, right, that maybe one of the reasons we got egg on our face on this and mortified and like roasted by Twitter on this, and we look like such unrepentant, like raging muppets, is because there's a reason to that. See, we verify these things. So when we see a picture of Varadkar standing at tickling distance from his boyfriends in a photograph, the reason we didn't publish on that straight away is because we, God, I don't know, we were verifying allegations. We are responsible. We had to spend 3 days in the lab, litmus paper, beakers of stuff, and Zoom, CSI Miami, Minority Report, shuffling things around to analyze this in depth, to understand it. And that's what we offer to you, unlike the internet. That's what he's trying to present to you. It's like, lad, it was a photograph, right? It's pretty straightforward. So that's Philip's little cope. Embarrassing. Kassan said, these clothing brands might make you look cool down in the George, Leo, but the rest of us expect the Taoiseach to have a bit more decorum. Perhaps the scumbag in the park look is the least worn option, or is the least worst option after all. I'm losing the ability to read, forgive me. But look at this. This is where he, apologies, right, for putting you off your maybe midnight snack at this point, if you're having one. But, I mean, this matters. Like, some people would say, does it matter? Yeah, it matters. Like, that this is the guy leading your country. Like, you're meant to have a stoic, regal, honorable man, a man you trust. What? This is where he shops. This is where our Taoiseach shops. The absolute state. I come back to my thumbnail. The absolute state of this man, and the absolute state of this country for having him in power. Actually, he's voted out, isn't he? His party aren't in power anymore. It's all up in the air, whatever, electoral politics. He doesn't really have a mandate anyway. But regardless, the absolute state. I mean, we need to, I don't know, we need to get serious. This guy drinking in the park, getting his, I mean, we're talking about a deranged man here, like a deranged, sick, people will go, you're like Father Ted or something. No, I'm not doing that. I'm just saying that this man, I'm kind of lost for words. Just, I mean, look at the screen. Just cast your eyes upon the screen. Like, this is where this guy does his shopping. I mean, do you really trust that man looking after our nation, the families of our nation, our heritage, our welfare, our economic and social welfare, and our kind of just, I don't know, the destiny of our country, the future of our country. Do you really trust a man who does his shopping for his bag at this website to lead anything or inspire anything? No. Maria Alicia kind of says the same thing. Just realizing that Varadkar's underwear was also on show. And again, for the people who go, oh, you're doing the Father Ted thing, like doing with this sort of thing, ha ha ha. I mean, you can say that if you want to, but it's kind of like, again, I bring you back to Modi of India. Now, that's a leader, right? I'm sure he has his faults. Trump has his faults. Lots of people have their faults, right? But what's that? You don't have to be Father Ted with the down with this sort of thing to just say, this is a muppet of a man, a kind of an idiot, basically, who's kind of intentionally, because he didn't go there overly accidentally, right? These people are savvy in their own way. Who is intentionally trying to desensitize us and insult us and kind of lower the tone and kind of almost, I don't know, is it like this kind of hyper normalization thing? I don't know what it is. Is it a comms thing or is it, I don't know. But either way, it's like if I saw, what is he? Is he like 40 years old? I gotta see. And it'd be one thing if he was like, you know, the kind of Homer Simpson type. He was like, hey, I'm having a barbecue with the lads. He's 41 years old. If he was doing it in the kind of a dad way, but he sure as hell isn't doing that, right? He's in the park, like tickling his boyfriends and being tickled by his boyfriends with his jocks hanging out and with his I don't know. Maybe this video has gone on too long. Maybe I'm just stuck for words at this point. But it's just like, it's just embarrassing. I mean, you know, again, say what you want about other nations' leaders, but like they don't do this stuff, and it really does make a mockery because people respected Ireland. And you think about Michael Collins, right? You think about Michael Collins, upright, a proper man, right? A proper man leading the country, a man you know can who has normal interests at heart for the country, right? For the average person, for families. How can a guy like this, a 41-year-old man, standing around in a park like this with his boyfriends, during a pandemic, right? When other people are being like arrested and hunted out of parks and stopped by the guards, and funerals are being had for our 800 odd. Sorry, I don't have the exact number. No disrespect. I'm kind of just lost in it for a second. With 800 plus of our own elders dead, right? And he's standing here like this in a way that could only be to insult us, really. I don't know. We got to get rid of these people. Yeah, and finally, Chopper here says, never forget Tony Holohan and this government oversaw one of the worst scandals in the nation's history, which resulted in the deaths of our women, the cervical scandal, cervical smears mess up, basically.
Most at risk of becoming new super spreaders of COVID-19.
People who move between different workplaces or different homes or different networks of people are people we need to be concerned about because...
Okay, a random tab just went off there. Okay, so like, yeah, the cervical smear scandal, where they basically lost all of the results and people who were tested positive actually got told they were negative and all of this kind of stuff, right? A lot of women died. Tony Holohan was behind that, or was at the center of that. Gets off scot-free. Now he is getting the well done, you know, from the Colette, whatever her name is, all these people. They're getting all that now. At present day, they're banning cervical and breast checks. This is true. They're banning those. You can't get those at the moment, right? And Leo, while this is the case, is drinking half naked in a park. While people can't go to their elderly relatives, their own mothers and fathers' funerals, while people can't get essential checks in the hospital, this guy is drinking half naked in a park to insult us. And more importantly, as I said in the beginning of this video, not only the substance of that, but our own media I think I've outlined this pretty clearly already, right? They tried to bury and ignore this for days and were forced by the international media to do it. That's the state of the country we're in. I've harped and ranted about Varadkar a little bit here. But again, situations like this, having people like Simon Harris and Leo Varadkar and these scumbags in power in this country can only come as a result of this complicit regime media we have. These people are the true enemy in this country. Make no mistake. And that's why it has to be called out. And importantly, and I have linked in the description, people like Professor Jeremiah Hunkelberg on Twitter, and of these people heroically, tirelessly broke this story. Just because it's on Twitter, it's just a Twitter account. It doesn't matter, like the Watergate or something like that. It does matter. The medium is Twitter. That doesn't matter. These people broke a story internationally, an important story, a really important story, and they did it in the face of in the face of a regime media who were determined to bury and suppress this story. They did that. Now, in my world, in my ideal world, people like this, and like I say, people like Paddy Cosgrave, who were talking about the nursing home scandal 2 months ago and were persecuted for it, these people deserve awards for their work, and they will not ask for one. They will not get one, but they won't even ask for one. They won't even take the credit personally. They will just do it. And I'll be honest with you, these are the kind of people we need to be our media, to be our government, instead of what we have, because it's a disgrace. And in case you think it's just a partisanship, rivalry, I'm being biased, I'm being this and that, 800 elderly people dead, and they wouldn't be if these lads I have linked below were doing our media for us. If Paddy Cosgrave were listened to, a guy who clearly cares and has, look, he's a wealthy guy himself, right? He has he's nothing to gain doing this. If we had people who do it for the love of nation, for the love of humanity, and for not wanting 800 of our elders to die unnecessarily, these are the people we need. And it's not just them, it's loads of others. They're left, they're right. It's not partisan, it's decent people. It's people with integrity versus people who are paid off regime prostitutes who will cover over anything. They will cover up anything just for their bit of status and their pat on the head and their wage and their kind of and their status. Well, I think I've said status, for their status. We need to completely switch this around. And again, it's important. Left or right or whatever is not important. There's a thing called integrity. There's a thing called being paid off, being bought off. NGOs, media, right? These type of people. Not every last one of them, almost all of them. They're on the pay of the state, or the regime as I call it, right? They're on the pay of that. They have no integrity. They are mercenaries, information, propaganda mercenaries. These people versus people with integrity, people who tell the truth, people who will debate and speak to anyone on a basis of truth, integrity, decency, and doing what's right. That's not a left or a right thing. I have a certain political view. It's not about that. It's about integrity, and it's about being independent. Independent is crucial here. Does this person get paid to shill the line that they're shilling? And does every word that comes out of their mouth dependent on that? And clearly, demonstrably, right? Demonstrably a result of that. Do they persecute people who are doing good things because ultimately someone's paying them to do it? Ultimately, they're getting pats on the head and credit and status from it. That's the gap. That is what we're talking about. There are people in this country who are decent and noble and truthful, and there are people who aren't. They are paid off. They're mercenaries. They're shills. And like I say, they're scumbags. They're lower than addicts. They are lower than prostitutes, because those people at least admit their problem, and you can sympathize with them. These regime shills, these regime journalists and NGOs are beneath all that. I think I've made that point. Thank you everybody for joining me. I really appreciate it. I did no work here. I just summarized everybody else's work, right? Like I say, this story was broken by these people. So all credit goes to them. Go underneath, subscribe to them, follow them on wherever they are, on Twitter mainly. Even the ones I haven't added, I might add more in the description. But I think you saw I called out their names as I went. Full credit goes to them. I only compiled it. So that's it. Good to be back. Good to be covering kind of news and stories and the daily goings on. There was so much tonight. Tonight could have been 2 hours longer. This was going to be one part of the video. This was going to be one part, and there were going to be 3 more parts just like it, because there's other stuff going on. And can you imagine, we're now entering an hour and 20 minutes. So if I had done that, this video would have been 4 hours long. Now on the bright side, that is for tomorrow. So there's more. There's so much going on. You take a couple of days off and you find you have to catch up. There's always so much going on to talk about. So yeah, everybody, I'm doing my thing here. Thanks for joining me. I basically will see you tomorrow night. Ihawa.